A restaurant owner, driven to the brink by crushing bankruptcy, takes a baseball bat to his own business. He smashes his counter, destroys his kitchen, and then collapses in tears. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a funeral for a physical business, a crushing, visible failure that is becoming horrifyingly common in China right now. The scenes of despair are everywhere. Look at this massive new Langya complex. It looks magnificent, gleaming, but there isn't a single tourist. The crispy pork vendors are still selling their goods at dinner time, but no one is buying. All the shops have closed down. The standard lazy explanation you hear in the media is simple. E-commerce killed the Chinese mall. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the big lie. It is only half the story. In this 5,000-word investigation, we're going to expose the structural killer that is far more toxic than online shopping. We're going to dive into the data that proves it and reveal the 3 vicious economic loops accelerating the collapse of physical retail across the entire nation. This is a story of absurd debt, political failure, and urban planning blunders that forced hundreds of thousands of store owners to lose everything. We're starting with the evidence. If e-commerce is not the primary cause, then what is the real structural killer? The answer is so deeply rooted in the Chinese political system, it is considered by some experts to be an unremediable affliction. We'll uncover the full verdict later. Let's look at the numbers. What you are witnessing is not a gentle correction. It is a full-blown systemic crash of China's physical economy. A November 21st report from Xinjiang analyzed the financial results of 24 retail companies. The findings are catastrophic. 20 major traditional retailers collectively earned a mere 778 million yuan in profits. That number might seem large, but it represents a dizzying 88.9% plunge from the 7 billion yuan they earned in the same period of 2024. 10 of these firms saw profits fall more than 50%. Companies like Zongyang Mall and Guangzhou Grand recorded declines exceeding 100%. We are talking about major names, from traditional department stores like Wang Fu Jing to supermarket chains like Yongqi. Wang Fu Jing alone reported a 71% plunge in net profit. This isn't a regional issue. It is sweeping the nation. In Shenzhen, the Hanggang Rainbow is closing. In Lanzhou, the New World department store is shutting down. In Guiyang, the well-known Parks and Store Lawn is closing its doors permanently. Even the iconic Beijing's Parks and Department Store, a retail fixture for 31 years, is paying an 11.7 million yuan penalty just to end its lease early. The $7 billion debt trap. The retail crash is inextricably linked to the commercial real estate debt crisis. Take the example of China South City. This was a massive developer building commercial and logistics parks across the country. They are now drowning in debt of more than $7 billion US dollars. Their market value has collapsed from a peak of over 30 billion Hong Kong dollars to just 1.2 billion. A popular vlogger visited their Shenzhen complex and found entire floors abandoned, shops shuttered, and the space converted into electric bike parking garages. The atmosphere, he said, felt deserted and lifeless. In Tianjin, a mega city with over 10 million people, vloggers report empty streets, empty malls, empty office buildings, and empty industrial parks. Back when China had 1.3 billion people, you had to squeeze through crowds. Now, with 1.4 billion people, It's the opposite. Everywhere feels so quiet. The question is, why? Why is this collapse so much worse in China? The core problem isn't the growth of Tmall or JD.com. It's the architectural failure of the entire model. And it starts with a shocking imbalance of supply. How can local governments, knowing the market is dead, still require developers to build more malls? The hidden political incentive is a tax you won't believe. We'll reveal it next. The first vicious economic loop is massive commercial oversupply, or what we call the supply bomb. China has more than 6,700 retail projects, larger than 30,000 square meters. Over 120 new malls launched in the first half of this year alone. Contrast that with the US, which has roughly 1/4 of China's population. The US has only 1,170 shopping centers. The market is utterly saturated. Look at Shanghai. One large mall serves every 80,000 residents. Compare that to Tokyo, where the ratio is one mall per 200,000 people. Shanghai's per capita commercial space is 3 times higher than Tokyo's and ranks second globally, behind only Dubai. The result is soaring vacancy rates. The average vacancy rate in major cities now stands at 14.2%. In some third-tier cities, individual projects have reached vacancy levels above 22%, well beyond the 6% threshold considered a warning signal. The political tax. Here's the stunning part. The overbuilding is not market-driven. It's politically driven. Local governments rely heavily on sales tax revenue generated by malls, especially because there is no nationwide property tax on homes yet in place. This creates a perverse incentive. When new residential districts are planned, local governments often require developers to include massive commercial projects, the malls, as a condition for winning the land bids. Developers, desperate to win the bids and recover capital quickly, readily agree to build these centers, even when there is zero genuine demand. In essence, the current mall glut is simply the commercial extension of China's earlier real estate boom. Developers used it as a vehicle to pay the local government's hidden tax. It was never about satisfying consumer demand. It was about generating immediate revenue for the CCP's local branches. This leads us to a bitter irony. China has built more malls than any other country, yet it often delivers the poorest shopping experiences. The closure of the Dual Fuzhou store left over 20 customers unable to collect nearly 2 million yuan in prepaid orders. But the ultimate loss is borne by the small business owners, and their warning is crucial for every entrepreneur. What is their essential advice? The second vicious loop is the political death blow to organic retail. A key reason why Chinese malls are failing is that the alternative, street-level retail, was deliberately suppressed by decades of urban planning. In healthy, vibrant cities globally, commercial districts evolve organically. Small, specialized shops cluster together, generating foot traffic and gradually upgrading as demand grows. Large malls are reserved for genuine high-traffic zones. China's model skipped that natural progression. The city planners blunder. Chinese cities hastily built massive malls, some larger than 100,000 square meters, in areas that completely lacked sufficient organic demand. Even worse, the planners actively killed the competition. Widened roads, Roads were made too wide, acting as barriers that prevented easy pedestrian flow and connection between commercial zones. Suppressed storefronts. In new districts, street-level retail was deliberately limited, preventing organic commercial ecosystems from forming. The urban design made it nearly impossible for a thriving Main Street culture to take root. This funneled all retail into the sterile, expensive, and often inconvenient mega-malls. The consequence: the scarcity trap. The result is a devastating scarcity trap. First, all the malls now compete fiercely for the same limited pool of customers. Second, the high rents combined with standardized leasing practices squeeze out the small operators and entrepreneurs who bring variety. This leads to a pervasive issue: homogenization of retail offerings. Every mall looks the same, selling the same brands, failing to offer anything unique that warrants a premium visit. Remember the vlogger's observation. Back when China had 1.3 billion people, you had to fight for a seat on the subway. Now, with 1.4 billion people, it's the opposite. Everywhere feels so quiet. The lack of genuine foot traffic means store owners must mark up prices heavily to cover the exorbitant fixed costs of the mall. But today's younger consumers, especially the post-2000 generation, refuse to pay those premiums. Surveys show 63% of them rarely visit department stores. They browse, they eat, but they don't buy. The mall has become an empty shell, an appearance of abundance masking a deeper scarcity. The third vicious loop is the most immediate and personal: the scourge of sudden, unavoidable closures. When the political and financial gears grind to a halt, the consequences are brutal for the small business owners who invested their life savings. Case study: the Saga Mall's grand funeral in Xi'an. The Saga IT Mall officially closed. But here is the bizarre reality. They held a closing ceremony. Imagine holding a funeral for a business that couldn't survive. The owner, heartbroken, says everything is being sold at a loss. He's slashing prices by 70–80% and still can't find buyers. It used to be that one little shop could feed 3 generations. Now, one shop is bankrupting 3 generations. Case study: the prepaid disaster. The financial chaos leaves a trail of victims. On November 25th, the Gmail Plaza Gold Cabinet store in Wenzhou closed abruptly. It left more than 20 customers unable to collect nearly 2 million yuan, $278,000 USD worth of prepaid orders. The store cited a cash flow crisis, and customers were left in limbo. The warning for entrepreneurs: the risks are staggering. Even the historic Beijing's Parks department store is paying an $1.6 million USD penalty just to end its lease early. If a company that big can't remain viable, what hope is there for the small operator? A vlogger visiting an abandoned complex issued a critical warning to all physical store owners. Many tenants invested hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, on renovations. They lost everything when the mall closed. Most were unable to recover deposits. Their customer flow disappeared overnight. His core advice for future entrepreneurs is simple, yet brutal. Ask the hard questions before signing a lease. Are the fixed costs manageable? What happens if the mall suddenly closes due to policy shifts or financial failures? Could your business survive relocation or total loss? The bitter conclusion for the small business owner. Running a brick-and-mortar business right now is brutal. The owner of one store in Wuhan said he had been bleeding money since the start of the year and had to close up shop with tears in his eyes. We started by dispelling the big lie that e-commerce is the sole killer. We have exposed the structural failures, the massive supply bomb, the political death blow to organic retail, and the resulting scarcity trap. But there is an even deeper reason. A reason that ties the initial tears of the bankrupt restaurant owner to the political structure of the state. The political affliction China expert U.S. Shan has noted that the difficulties arising across all sectors are now surfacing together. His conclusion is damning. This is neither accidental nor merely an economic matter. Shan argues that the economic crisis arises from a profound affliction stemming from decades of the Chinese Communist Party's inflexible political and economic structure. This is a problem, in his opinion, that cannot be remedied. Government attempts to patch up the market only offer brief respite. The current model is fundamentally broken because it is not based on genuine market demand, but on generating political capital and land revenue for the local government. The sole path to economic renewal, according to Shan, lies in the Communist Party yielding power. This, he suggests, would enable the Chinese people to revive their traditional values, create an open political framework, and develop a genuine free market. The irony is inescapable. The system designed to deliver hypergrowth and stability has created a massive, unstable structure of debt, ghost malls, and pervasive anxiety. The final visual: a silent nation. Look again at the scale of the silence. The vlogger driving through the empty streets of Tianjin. The train station, which used to be the busiest, now has all its stores closed. Only one 7-Eleven is still open. The busiest part of downtown, the city's prime spot, has shops that can't find tenants. The streets are filled with empty storefronts. People are trying to offload leases for months, and still nobody wants them. Back in the day, transferring a city center storefront would cost hundreds of thousands in key money. Now, the fee is zero. The doors are locked, and nobody is biting. The conclusion from the experts and the entrepreneurs on the ground is the same. Right now, everything is tough. This massive economic body is sick. And the affliction, according to those who understand its structure, is not economic. It is fundamentally political. We've seen the raw emotion of a man destroying his life's work. We've seen the catastrophic data of an 88.9% profit collapse. And we've exposed the three structural loops that are truly killing China's physical economy: the oversupply bomb, the political death blow to street retail, and the resulting scarcity trap. The big lie is exposed. This is not just e-commerce. This is the bitter fruit of a system built on debt, political incentives, and a disregard for organic, market-driven demand. This profound affliction, as U.S. Shan calls it, is the greatest economic challenge of our time. What do you think is the most unsustainable part of China's current economic model? Is it the debt, the political structure, or the urban planning itself? Let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts drive the conversation. And if you want more deep dive investigations like this, don't miss our next video. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell so you don't get left behind by a rapidly reshaping world. Thank you for watching.